Hi guys, welcome to Pixel Affair. It's Kobe here, and in today's video we are going to do this. So this is basically morphing from one object state into another using basic Cinema 4D elements like the Voronoi fracture and some effectors, and it's very basic. If you understand a little bit of MoGraph, you should be able to do this. So this is the first example, and this like a stone morphing into like a diamond. And there's this one that I did with a pixel text morphing into affair. So that's the Pixel Affair logo. And you can use literally almost any object, even moving object and stuff. So let's actually get into Cinema 4D and see how we will do this. So here I am in Cinema 4D, and this is Cinema 4D R25. But you should be able to do this, I think, from Cinema 4D R20 upwards, because we are going to use basic Cinema 4D effectors, fields, and Voronoi fracture, which exists from Cinema 4D R20 upwards. So this is the scene where I have the stone, morphing into the diamond shape, and it's quite a simple scene. You can see we have just two Voronoi fractures here. That's the two objects and some effectors. So let's actually open a new scene and see how we will do this thing from scratch. So I have this scene here, which I have the two objects I want to morph from. So this is a landscape object, which I've actually checked the spherical. So it's looking like a sort of a rock or something, right? And the diamond. So we are going to morph from the landscape to the diamond. So let's first of all go ahead and create a Voronoi fracture. So I can come to my MoGraph inside, and I can choose Voronoi fracture. I'll call this one A, and I'll put the landscape in it, right? And I'll come again, create my MoGraph Voronoi, and I'll call this one B, and I'll put my diamond in it. So we are going to morph from the A to the B, right? So I'll increase the point generator, select it, and I'll make it like say 200. With the A selected, I'll select the point generator, so I'll make it 200. Again, I don't like the point generator, the green thing. So if I click on this, it will hide it, and I'll select the B as well. Click on it and hide it. For now, let's leave the colorized fragments on, right? So the next thing we are going to do is use effectors to control it, right? So with the actually the A selected, I can come into my effectors, which I can get from here, effectors as well, and choose my Plane Effector, right? I'll call it Effector Plane A. So we are going to use this to scale the Voronoi fracture A. So select scale, uniform scale, and put it to -1, right? And now we'll do the same thing for the B. So with the B selected, you can go ahead and create our Plane Effector as well. I'll check the position, scale, and uniform scale, and do it -1 as well. So it all disappears, right? And I'll name this one Plane B, right? So that's the two planes that you are going to use. So it's this right now what's happening is that it's clearing everything, so we don't see everything has disappeared. So we are going to use fields to control when it appears and disappears. So I'll select the A field, Plane Effector, and I'll come to its fields tab, and I'll choose linear field, and in the linear field I'll make it, I think, positive Y. Let's actually make it negative Y, so that it shows from the beginning. In the beginning it's there, and if we move it, it disappears, right? So we are going to use this field to control the two effectors. So in the plane B, we can drag the same field in here, and you can see now the diamond also shows. If I select the field, diamond also shows, and if I move it, it disappears. But we want it the other way around. Whilst the A, which is the stone, is showing, then the B is appearing. That's what you want to do. So in the plane B, inside the linear field, we have this modifiers here, field modifiers here. So if I click on this, you can see we have a whole lot of them. Click and hold it. What we want is invert. So if I click and hold on the curve and I choose invert, you can see now the diamond has disappeared. But if I select the linear field whilst moving it up, you can see now the diamond is appearing. So that's the basics or the whole technique behind this particular morphing style. So whilst one is disappearing, one is appearing, right? So that's everything. But then it's very obvious what's happening here. So that's when we need a little bit of chaos and randomness to make it look interesting. So now the next thing I'm going to create is add a little bit of rotation to the boat whilst it's moving, right? So I'll select the two of them and I'll create a new plane effector, but this plane effector is for the two. So call it plane rotate. And now in the rotation, I'll come to the parameters, uncheck position, and what I want to do is rotation. So I'll rotate actually the heading to 360, and it's important you have to make sure it's rotated to 360 so that everything goes round in full circle to its original position again. If you leave it in 180 or any other, unless 360 or 720, multiples of full 360. So that's what we are going to do. So now if I select the linear field, and that one too also needs to be controlled by the linear field. So with the rotation, plane rotation selected, I come to the fields as well and drag in this same linear field. So this linear field is going to control every effector that we create. So now if I hit play and move it, you can see now whilst it is appearing, it's rotating. So it gives it a little bit of movement and some motion, and that's nice. So now the next is you are going to use random effector. So whilst everything is disappearing, rotating, we need a little bit of movement and random so that it doesn't look that obvious. So with the two of them selected again, I'll come into my effectors and I'll choose random and drag it down. And now in the random, we will need the same field to control it, right? So I'll drag in the linear field. And now if I select the linear field and move, you can see you get the randomness that happens. But then at the end, we still it doesn't get to form the diamond the way we want it. So in the linear field, what you have to do is with the linear random field, what you have to do is you select the random field and come to its fields, and you can add another modifier, which is the curve modifier. So you can add the curve modifier on top of the linear field. And now if I hold Control and click on this line, you can see it creates extra point for us. So I can drag it up somewhere here, and then I'll select the last point and drag it down. So what it's doing is that the random field is active all the way here. It goes and at the end it drops back to 0, right? So everything happens in here. So that's basically what this random field is doing. So it goes up, starts from 0, and in the middle it's very active, and down here it's not. So that's basically what right now it has made this linear field look in this random effector, right? So now if I select my linear field and see it has the randomness, but it gets to the end and everything forms back to its original state. All right, so that's what we want. So I can come into the randomness and now start playing with my parameters, how I want my randomness and all of that. So let's say I'll increase it like maybe 120, 100, probably 30. Just play around to see till you see what you really want. You know what, at this point you can probably start setting some keyframes. So let's set a keyframe. Let's increase the frame rate. I think it's fine. And now let's set a keyframe. So I'll set a keyframe at frame 10 and at frame probably 120. We'll move this up. And now if you go back and hit play, you can see it's forming. Nice. Now another thing that you can go ahead and add several effectors and use the same linear field to control. But another thing I did is that I felt the fragments were too small when it was disappearing and appearing, so I wanted it to look a little bit bold and stuff like that. So what I did is I added another plane effector. So with these two selected, I can go in here and I choose to add another plane effector, and in the parameters, of course, I'll uncheck the position and I'll check the scale, uniform scale, and then in this case I'll make it scale +1. So now you can see it makes it a bit bolder before it goes back. So let's actually see what happens. And this one also needs to be controlled by the linear field. So I'll drag it in here, and now if we hit play and see it gets bold, but unfortunately the diamond everything scales up and doesn't get back to the shape. So we will do the similar effect that we did for the random effector. We come to the field, apply a curve on top of it, and now hold Control to create a point. Drag this one up here somewhere, right? And now drag this one down so that you get this kind of shape. And now if hit play, scale sits in the middle, and now it goes back. So now here you can control how you want the scale. If you want it, let's say 0.5 or 0.6, you can play with it as well. And you can also add the positioning. So immediately you add some sort of positioning to it. You can see it's giving you some sort of different feel. Right, let's actually change it to this position and see what happens. See, it gives it a little bit different. So you can go ahead and add several effectors and play around to see what actually works for you. So after everything is done, I selected this whole thing. So these are the basic effectors I used, and then I add a delay effector to sort of smoothly blends the animation or the elements in. So with the delay effector selected, I'll come to effector and increase its strength like probably 80 something, 84 wouldn't be bad, and I hit play. You can see smoothly forms from rock to diamond. So that's basically all I did, and from here onwards you can actually change the object that you want to show. For instance, I can actually create a text, and I'll call this one P, center it in the middle, align, and probably make it bold. Right, now create another one. I'll call this one A. So pixel, the P for pixel and A for affair. And now I'll take off the diamond and the landscape out for now, hide them, and now I can put the P in the object A, and then the B A in the object P B, right? I hope you get it. So if I hit play, let's actually first of all select the two texts. I'll disable delay so that I can move it down and see what's happening. Right, so now we've moved the text in the middle. Right, so if now I enable the delay and hit play, and see smoothly morphing from P to A, and it could be any object that you want. Even moving objects also works as well. So now let's actually go into the shading. Right, how I shaded it. So with it, I can select the two of them, come to object, and I'll see it's now set to colorize fragments. I will check that one so that we see the actual colors of the object. So now if I hit play, you can see it's morphing from one color to another, and it's using the field's color, this particular field's color. Select the field and come to color remap. You can see the color it's giving us. If I change it to like say blue or something, this color, you can see the color it's given us. Right, so now if I hit play, so what ideally you probably can use two different materials, right? So I use redshift, and in this case I'm going to show how I actually apply my material. So with my material, let's see, this is my material one. I can create another one. Let me actually redshift new material. So I have two materials. So I'll come into the material and probably make this one red so that you see the difference, right? Then I'll apply this to A and this to B. So you can see it's morphing from the red, but this is where the issue is. You can see it's very obvious that there are two different objects trying to mix together. But I want to use that transition of the linear field, right, where it was morphing smoothly. If I take the two off, these two off, you can see it was smoothly morphing from blue, and you can see you have to white to blue. Smoothly was morphing to. We want to use that to transition between two materials, right? So that's what you are going to do. So I'll apply just one particular material to the two of them. So A and B. All right, and it's all going to use this material, so we don't need the red one. So I'll continue to say double click to open our Redshift shader graph. And now we need two materials, right? So I'll go ahead and create in the material, I can bring in and create another material. So we have material 1 and material 2. And you want to blend between those two materials. So we need a material blender. So I'll bring in a material blender. You can go ahead and type in material blender and search it, and it'll show, right? So this is going to be our main color, the base color. So let's say that one's going to be red, right? And I'll drag it and drop it to the base color. And now I'll drag that one into our surface. So if now we check, you can see our text is red, and we want it to morph into, let's say, blue. So this particular one is going to be blue, so I'll change the color to blue in here, right? And that one will be on in the material blender, will be layer 1, right? So now how do we use the effectors color to transition from red to blue? So with that, we will need a color user data. So if I type in color user data, you can see we have color user data. You can drag it in, and now we can tell it we need, it should be MoGraph color. I think that one works. What we can do with that is that we can actually let me make this one a little bit smaller so that we see what's going on, right? Let me actually hit play so that you see something happening. Actually, don't want the whole thing to disappear somewhere here, right? So you can see what's going on. So if we actually pipe in the color user data in here, I think let's bring in the Redshift render view so that we see what's going on. No, it's still rendering the two, so we can hide the diamond in the ground, and you can see now it's showing us the black, blue and white of the field, linear fields color, right? You can see it's moving from white to blue. What's happening here, right? But I want to change this from, instead of blue, make it black, right? So now with in the linear field, if I select the linear field and come to color map and move it from blue and make it black, you can see it's black now, right? And you are going to use that to control what should appear and what should not appear. That's basically it, right? So now I'll drag in the material blender node in here, and now using the color user data, that's what we are going to use to blend. So with the layer material blender, if I select the color user data, drag and drop it in here, and now I'll choose the layer 1 blend color. I'll use the color user data to use it to blend. So now if we bring back our render view again and hit play, you should see us blending from red to blue or blue to red. Let's go back. See, so from blue to red, but what we actually want is we want red to blue, right? So then I think we have to remap this from black to white or white to black. So what we can actually do is use a ramp. So I come to a ramp node, right? And I'll drag it in here, and I'll use the color user data through the ramp node. So I'll make it input, and I'll now use the ramp node to connect to the blend color. And with the ramp node, what I think we can do is that we can use it to invert the color, right? So if I drag, in fact, let me undo, right click and invert gradient, and now you can see it's red showing. And whilst it plays, it turns blue. So that's basically what I used to control my material. So I didn't use two different materials, one material, but smoothly transitions from one onto to the another. The next other thing I also did was that you see the inside had different colors, which was white, right? And with the inside, so the B was the one I used. So with the B selected, you can come into selections in here and see inside vertex map. So I actually use the inside vertex map, all right, so that it gives you this vertex map which you can use to control the inside, right? So that's basically what I use, or we can use inside selection, right? So I can actually, with this one selected, I think can use the inside faces, and maybe let's create a different material. I hit save for now. Create a different material, redshift material, right? And you apply this one to the B, but then you will restrict it to just the not the selection, rather the inside faces. And now you can see it affecting only the inside faces, right? So that's what I basically use for the inside as well. So you can go ahead and now add your lights. I used a redshift dome light with an HDRI just to get this basic look, and you can go ahead and render. So that's basically the whole technique about how to use the Voronoi fracture to morph from one object into another very smoothly, and it's quite very interesting and nice technique that you can use to do a lot of morphing, right? I hope this was useful and you learned something from it. Thanks for watching, and kindly subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching once again. I'll see you in the next one.